Brad Gilmore. Jenga Janisch. King of the Ding. How about one more? How about a fatal four-way?
Come on, guys. Of course it's me. Fatal four-way. Rundown Schmoedown. You in?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. I am Brad Gilmore, and joining me not from Chicago, Illinois, but from Los Angeles, California, my man, the one and only, the stat boy, Frank Janisch.
That's right, home of the shills. Get used to it. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. Been flying back and forth from Chicago to LA, Burbank. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing phenomenally. You know, a lot has been going on over here in good old Houston, Texas. The Rockets are #1, like you pointed out. You know, we might get LeBron James next season. You never know. You know, the Astros are the defending World Series champions. Things are pretty peachy, but hey, also joining us on the show, last time I called him Patrick Clark, but that's not his name because his name is Patrick Campbell. Patrick Campbell, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Brad. Thank you guys for having me back again. Obviously, as you can see, Frank and I are actually together. For those who don't know, he pretty much lives in my apartment every other week, it seems like now, which is unfortunate because he's bringing other reactors from other channels with him, and they keep breaking into my apartment. It's great. Just great.
Oh, sorry, no apologies.
You might need to, you know, change the locks. Maybe get one of those Ring doorbells. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there right now. You might need to do that. Well, guys, I think it's great. Y'all are over there in Los Angeles. Obviously, you attended the live show, which we're going to talk about here in a little while. Y'all were there. I mean, I see the shirt. Show the shirt off, brother.
Oh,
there it is.
Shirt off.
Schmoedown live shirt. It's great. It's even got the names of the contestants on the back. It's fantastic. We had a really good time, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but two big matches this week. We had a fatal five-way for the Innergeekdom. The winner of that would go on to the #1 contenders match, and then we have Dale the Dude versus Ben Bateman. Frank, a match that you were there in live and living color when you saw the match made. So some big matches going down. Couple of news items. I believe we had a team announcement. I think Team Trek is going to take on World's Finest here in the very near future. What do you think about that, Frank?
It's an interesting matchup. I liked what we saw out of World's Finest when they faced up against Kingsman. I liked a lot what Eric Zipper brought, and then also his teammate Winston was very good. But Eric is the one that caught my eye the most. So it'll be interesting to see how Winston follows up in his second appearance here in the Schmoedown. But Team Trek, these guys have been around a long time, and they're going to be no easy feat for anyone to beat here. So for World's Finest, to step into the ring with them, a well-seasoned team in Trek. You got Scott Mance, Jason Inman, the reigning Innergeekdom champion. It's quite a match for sure.
What do you think, Patrick? What do you think about that, man? I almost called you Clark, Patrick Campbell.
That's all right. I'm really excited, though, because it's been a while since we've had Mance and Inman back in the ring together, and so that's really what caught my eye. Not to mention World's Finest actually had a really great first showing for any team, really. And it's just they seem like they're going to be very compatible. It's really going to go down to the wire, I feel like, which makes it that much more interesting. So I'm really looking forward to that. And really, real quick, Jason Inman actually just recently lost his grandmother. So I'd like to send his some condolences from us over here to Jason Inman and his family.
Yo, definitely. I didn't know that. You know, condolences over to Jason Inman. You know, my grandmother, I was super close to her, so I know exactly how that is to lose her. Well, speaking of the World's Finest, let's talk about this real quick because Christian Harloff did release the new rankings for the teams. Let me read them off to you, and I just want y'all kind of react here. We have number 10 is World's Finest. Number 9, Critically Acclaimed. Somewhere Chris Clark is cursing. Number 8, Only Stupid Answers. 7, DC Movie News. 6, Top That. 5, Team Trek. 4, Team Action. 3, Top 10. 2, MODOK. 1, Above the Line. And, of course, the champions are the Patriots. Let me go back to Patrick. What do you think of this top 10? More specifically, the top 3 here. You have Above the Line, MODOK, and top 10 with Action knocking at their door.
Well, it's no surprise, especially with Above the Line top 10 and MODOK. They've all had great showings. They've all gone up against the Patriots more than once. They all deserve to be in those top 3 spots. So it's great to see that they continue to push on. But my problem with this list is, where's the Wild Berries? The Wild Berries deserve to be on this list. Wild Berries. I mean, come on. Where's Josh McCouga? We need him on this list. What is going on right now?
They're on
I feel like this is a fix.
They're on the eternally defeated list. So
this is clearly a fix against the Wild Berries, and I will not stand for it.
What do you think, Frank Janisch, of the top 10 here with Action's right there? Action's right there. And do you think number 3 is a fair spot for top 10? John Roca, Matt Nost.
I do think the number 3 spot for top 10 is a fair spot. To be brutally honest, I do think they're the third best team outside of the Patriots. You have Above the Line and MODOK. I personally think top 10 is right where they should be. I think they are definitely better than Action. I know Action did beat them, but I still think top 10 is better than Action. So with Action at 4, the one team that I know why they're there, but it's top that at number 6. They're a pretty good team, and they had one of the best showings we've ever seen from a team, despite a losing effort. So for them to be at 6 is a little deceiving. Don't get too comfortable with that. If you're a new team out there, don't think you can come in and say you're like number 8 or 9 and top that. It's going to be a pretty tough match if you go up against them. So that's one that definitely sticks out to me, even though I know why they're there.
Speaking, though, of the Commish, Christian Harloff, a couple things real quick about him. If you're a pro wrestling fan out there, he was on Wade Keller's podcast this week. Really good stuff about his insight on writing for WWE, which I thought was awesome. Not a big Wade Keller fan, but that was a great interview that he did. And also, Christian Harloff did another interview with Sir Jacob here, who's been on this show before, further explaining his ideology and his ideas of why the decision that he made or they made in the top 10 match versus the Patriots, that championship match. Did y'all guys hear that? Patrick, I guess first to you. Did you hear what Christian Harloff said? And what did you think?
Actually, we did. Funny enough, we listened to that whole interview while I was driving Frank back to the airport last week when he was leaving the first time. And, I understand where Christian's coming. If it wasn't for Christian, we wouldn't have this game. None of us would be here right now. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that I still think that the respin was a problem overall. And I understand where he was coming from. And I know that some of our Facebook fans from the Schmoedown page probably heard Frank and I talking about this about a week ago at 2:30 in the morning, because we did our own breakdown on what was going on. And it was the right call at the end of the day to not award the points, but the respin is really the problem. But I understand where Christian's coming from. But I think he was right when he said that if Mark Ellis had been at the table with him, that call wouldn't have happened. And if you had just wiped it and moved forward, it would have been a much different situation.
Frank?
Yeah. After hearing that, it really boils down to they made a mistake in not just, not awarding points to anyone. Patriots should have lost a point, top 10 should have lost 3 points, and that'd have been that. But that's not what happened. And the problem then was further compounded by giving the respin. And so you have this whole mess of events. And I know Christian realizes, you wish you would have taken a couple decisions back. And if Ellis was there, hopefully we're not in this kind of situation. But it is what it is. And, we're rolling with it. And I think I'm ready for it to be over with and just move on.
Yeah, and I think it should be pointed out, too. He even said at the end of his interview that they are going to really be focusing on making sure that this rule they have a new rule that will be coming up in a few matches that will be fully implemented on situations like this, and really making sure that things like this don't happen again, because it sounds like we do have a similar situation coming up.
Yeah.
And it's really nice that they've been so transparent about it. So
Yeah.
that's great.
It's another thing for him to say, yeah, well, we have another thing coming up, by the way, so watch out for another rule change, which is like, oh god, what are we gonna do now?
Well, hey, he gave you forewarning, Frank. He's like a weatherman forecasting, what's coming up, so just be ready. Make sure you wear your rain boots and your little jacket there, Frank. Yeah, I mean, I thought his comments were, you like that. I thought his comments were good. I mean, he explained it at least from his perspective, and that's what I wanted to hear from is he the Commish? Is he sort of he's kind
not,
of
I guess.
Kind of the Commish. Kind of the Commish Christian Harloff. That should be his new nickname, kind of the Commish.
Kind of, yeah.
But anyway, let's move on, though, to the week that was in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. The reason why we are all here, like I said, 2 big matches went down. First, that Innergeekdom Fatal Five-Way. Frank Janisch, this had big implications. Tell the people, whoever won this match, what would happen?
Yeah, so whoever wins this Fatal Five-Way, it's the second of the 2 we've had so far this season, they would go on to face the winner of the first Fatal Five-Way, and that winner was Mark Donica, and that would be the number 1 contender match. And then the winner of that obviously goes to play the champ, Jason Inman.
Yeah, so the Donica, I'm sure he was watching this match. He was studying. He was seeing who was going to be his opponent for that number 1 contenders match. So let's talk about it. Alana Jordan, Dorian Parks, Jared Habon, Taylor Robinson, Jamie Costa, Patrick. What did you think about this lineup? These 5 people. How familiar were you with all of them? Obviously, Taylor Robinson been on this show before, but how familiar were you with these competitors, and what were your expectations going into the match?
I've known quite a few of them over the last. I've gotten to know them being in this space for a little while. Alana was the only one that I really didn't have a feel for. I really don't watch DC movie news as much as I probably should. But I really saw this list of people. I saw them come out, and I went, man, this could be a really interesting match. You've got a really powerful lineup with a lot of different personalities. I mean, Dorian's been working in this industry for a long time. The Geeks with Color blog is wonderful, and he's done a lot of great work with it. So he knows what's going on in the world of Innergeekdom. And then you have Taylor, obviously, who we've been talking about. And as someone who is personally friends with her, I know she knows what's up with this. We always talk about movie news together, so it seemed like a great fit. But it was Jared Habon, really, for me. We don't all know Jared as well as everyone else, and like he said, he's not just the guy from The Bachelor. And that's what's so interesting, is to see him in the Innergeekdom realm, because most people would look at him and not think that. They're like, he probably likes sports and not comic books. But you know what? It's great, and it worked out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I didn't expect for the guy from The Bachelor to put in the performance that he did. But hey, looks can be deceiving, Frank. Looks can be deceiving. Don't you forget? Yeah, I might be nice and pretty, but that means I'm not gonna beat you in the rundown Schmoedown. Sorry. It's okay. My bad.
Okay,
but
what now? Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what did you think of this lineup of players?
I didn't really know what to think, really. Alana, Dorian, didn't really. I mean, I knew of Jared, but I didn't know what he could bring movie-wise, Innergeekdom-wise. And Jamie, I knew from his impersonations. But the only person I really did know was Taylor Robinson. And well, speaking of Taylor Robinson,
wait, what? Do we have a surprise here?
We have
Taylor.
Oh, look at that! Hey, let's get a round of applause in there. Chris Clark, you put that in post for me.
My apartment, please.
Sorry, Pat. I'm sorry, Pat.
People keep coming in Patrick's apartment, but it's all good. Wow, Taylor Robinson is here. Taylor, we had you on the show prior to your Schmoedown debut. Oh, by the way, nice T-shirt. I like the T-shirt, by the way. It's a great T-shirt. Shire Wolves. Go Shire Wolves. That's right.
Yep.
We had you on prior to you going to compete in the Schmoedown, and here we are. The week has been. You were there. You competed. How did you feel about your overall? How did you just feel about the whole experience?
Oh man, overall I feel pretty good. It's been a little bit up and down for me, just because of kind of how the match went. But I do feel good knowing that I went out there and competed, and I didn't have a heart attack, and I survived, and it was great. So. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, just getting there and doing it, that's half the battle, right? So, and you did it. Let's talk about it, though, Frank. Do you want to break down now with Taylor Robinson, with Patrick Clark, Campbell? You want to break it down, and let's talk about – I'm sorry, man. You're not
By the way, we talked about this afterward. Let me see if I still have it up. We talked about this afterward. And Frank, maybe, Chris, maybe you can throw it up here in post. But we talked about this. So last episode, and I apologize to him, I called Patrick Clark for the entire time, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And Patrick Clark is actually a pro wrestler who goes by the name Velveteen Dream. And this is what he looks like. He looks
So you can see
like
how you
Patrick
can confuse them, yeah.
Yeah, there's clearly a very uncanny resemblance between us.
Yeah.
So I
Not
get
only
why
your
he's-
name's similar, body type, attire,
Yeah.
Yeah,
accessories,
that
all the same.
that jacket. It's actually in my closet right now. I didn't know if you
I
know
know,
that.
I know.
but-
I know.
Dry clean
It's so
only.
crazy. Dry clean only. He just picked it from the cleaners last week. So anyway, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, let's talk about the match that was. Get into round number 1 there, Frank. Let's see. We had Alana score 4. We had Dorian 2. We had Jared Habon, the Bachelor, too smooth, scoring 7. Taylor Robinson with 3. And then Jamie Costa with 3. What was your analysis, Frank, of that very first round?
It was a very interesting first round because only Jared was really. I'm sorry, Taylor. This is rough. Just sitting right next to me. Yeah.
You got to keep it honest, brother.
I know. But look, it was interesting because Jared was the only one who scored a high percentage in that round, while the other 4 contenders were right around the same level. So it was very interesting to see that happen. And it's you never know what happens again then in the second round when you get to the wheel. But for Jared, an unknown quantity in this space, they have 7 out of 10. It's pretty impressive. It seems to me like, and I've talked to Jared a little bit, and he's very much a student of the game. He watches all the time, just like Taylor, and I'm sure a couple others, maybe not so much because they seem pretty raw. So to see Jared go out there and do it, I thought was really cool sight to see because he's got the Bachelor vibe kind of on him. And so for him to kind of shed that label a little bit here in the first round, I thought was great.
What do you think, Patrick? What did you think about round number 1?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because Jared came out really strong, a lot stronger actually than I thought. Jamie Costa was kind of the wild card for me because he's so big with impersonations. You don't really know right where he might land, and he actually underperformed quite a bit in what I was expecting, which is really too bad because I really like Jamie. I would have liked to see him do well, but Jared just got so far ahead again. Sorry, Taylor. He just got so far ahead of everyone else in that round.
No respect.
It was.
Damn. Come on to the show.
I'm sorry. You're right here.
What a way to treat a guest.
Look.
It says the guy 1,000 miles away. Yeah, very nice of you.
Look. It was
Frank.
Not
you
the
suck.
strongest first round, and it's okay. They still showed up. You guys stayed in it. Taylor, especially, like you stay in it, obviously much farther, and that's a great thing. But you just have to commend Jared for the performance.
Oh, yeah.
It just is, and that's really great.
Now, Taylor, let's throw it to you. What did you think? Round number 1, you were in there. What did you think? 6 points. 3 points. Not too great there to start off. But what was going on in your mind?
I mean, no, it wasn't great to start, and it wasn't where I wanted to be, obviously. No one wants to go in there and get a score like that. But after missing the first 2, I had a rough time. I started to get in my head, and it's hard not to do that. I have not been shy about telling every single person I've talked to that I was very nervous and very just not sure what was going to happen. And seeing Jared do as well as he did made me very, very happy because Jared and I have been friends, and I wanted to see him do well. So seeing Jared go in there and do as well as he did was awesome. And then it was also great because the rest of us were all on a similar level of like, oh crap, we better get this together and figure out what's going on, or Jared's gonna just completely take this. So it was a rough first round, but I was not in it alone.
That was very
Yeah.
sportsmanlike. What a great response for
like
saying
it.
how much you hate Jared. I can't, that was such a great way of saying, Jared, I hate you for getting ahead of me.
What though, Taylor? What was one of the questions though that came by where when you look back, hindsight being 2020 in this first round, you're like, I knew that answer, but I just spaced on it. Was there anything that stuck out to you?
There was. It was the Superman question. His mom, who played his mom,
Yeah.
and I knew it. I could see her face, and I just couldn't, in the moment, I just couldn't think of her name. And I look back, and I'm like, that is the most obvious answer in the entire world. And I just, for some reason, just couldn't.
Hey, that's
I
my
just
mom's
couldn't
name.
pull it. And that wasn't the only time that happened. There were a couple times, at least during the match, where I could see the face or I could hear the voice or whatever it was, and I just couldn't. It just wouldn't come to me. It was just one of those. It happens when people say that it happens. It legitimately, you're sitting up there, knowing that you know it, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one, and Diane Lane, of course, was Martha. My mother's name is Marcia, so it's close. Me and Superman might have bonded in that moment right there. I didn't think about that, but yeah, it is a difficult thing when you're under those bright lights. We've talked about it, Frank, a million times on this show. Like sometimes when you're making your debut, you think you know it. We played at home, and then
Right.
it just doesn't. It doesn't translate immediately.
Right, and there's a lot of people who comment like, "Oh, I could wipe the floor with these people. What are they doing?" But you don't know until you're underneath those lights. So I will never pass judgment on debuting players because I could sit at home and get 7 out of 10, and then if I was actually there, maybe I get 2 out of 10. Right, so it's such a different. I imagine, and we have Taylor here to tell us. Actually, that it's such a different animal when you're there in person. So I'm glad Taylor's here to tell us these things because for everyone out there who thinks that they can do this by, because they're sitting on their couch, it's not as simple. And I think Taylor described just how rough it can be in your debut match.
No, yeah, we say it all the time. So let's get into round number 2 here because round number 2, the wheel round, of course. Let's just go straight to Taylor on this one. Obviously, Alana Jordan gets Star Trek DC. I'm just going in order of the competitors. Gets 1 point in total there. Dorian Parks gets 7 in DCEU, and then Jared Haybon got Marvel is what he ended up with, and he got 10, of course, on that. But Taylor Robinson, she got Harry Potter. This is what you were looking for. You were looking for Harry Potter, and 6 points. How'd you feel about it?
I was really, really excited when I spun the wheel because the wheel is my biggest fear in the entire world. Going into this, I knew that the wheel was going to make it or break it because sometimes it just hates you and wants you to fail. And getting Harry Potter was exactly what I wanted, and I couldn't believe that I got exactly what I wanted. And overall, I was pretty happy with my performance, but there was one question where once again I knew, and I was kind of upset that I had to go to multiple choice, but in the moment, even though I know that like the back of my hand, I just couldn't pull it. But overall, after the round 1 that I had, I was very happy with having a round 2 like that.
No, absolutely. And what was that question that you knew?
It was the spell to make people forget, to erase memory.
How ironic.
And I know. Like,
the irony.
It was the Obliviate one.
And look, can I just commend you real quick because not everyone who's in here for the first time will actually go to multiple choice. They forget under the lights, and then because of that, people can steal the answers. And that was a great move on your part to actually go to multiple choice because when you heard it, clearly it clicked, and that was great because no one could get the points off of you.
But when you see though, Taylor, Haybon get those 10 points in Marvel, I mean, you still did well. You got the 6 points, 3 in the first round, so you're at 9. But he's at 17, right? I mean, did you just feel like, oh man, this is just beyond? I mean, at that point, did you feel like he's just beyond my reach?
I mean, a little bit. Yeah, it was a little difficult to keep myself in it just because it wasn't where I wanted to be at that point, and there were answers I'd missed that I was already kicking myself for at that time. And that's a difficult thing to look at and just think, yeah, I can overcome that. Like, that's fine. Sure. That's not going to be a problem. Like, you can't look at that and just think automatically, that's not a big deal. And for me, I was very nervous because once again, like round 3, those numbers can be very mean to you if you just pick the wrong 3 numbers. Like it's all in the luck of making sure that you pick the right numbers. And clearly that did not work out for me very well either.
We'll get to that. Let me throw it over to you, Frank. When you saw, Haybon get those 10, but Taylor get 6, and then Dorian Parks on that DCEU, he manages to get 7 after only getting 2 in the first round.
Right.
What were you thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, Taylor and Jared, they both earned 5 out of their possible 6 in their categories, right? And Jared, he crushed every single steal that came his way, and that really gave him the edge in the end, right? So the final round had that come to fruition for him. Would have been interesting to see how he would have done with those third round questions. You never know, and I think Taylor raises a great point in saying that you look at that number and you're like, you can't help but think, damn, that's tough. But maybe if I can get to that final round, who knows what can happen. But what did impress me most about that second round was Jared getting all 4 steals in all different categories. So it really showed how concentrated he was, and I think having that first round probably took off a lot of edge for him, and he kind of got able to lay back. He went first, right? And he got to see everybody else go after him, and he didn't have to worry about his round anymore. And that's kind of the advantage you have when you have such a nice lead going into that second round. You can afford to go first and lay back, and then pick off points if those steals are there. So I think it all worked out really, really well for him, and he played it smart. And the rest is that, I guess. Yeah.
Now, Patrick Clark, out of the competitors, we talked about Taylor's performance. We talked about Taylor. I can't get over it. I can't do it.
You can't. I know you can't.
I can't do it. PJ, how about that?
All right, that works. That's great.
PJ, out of the remaining players that we saw, we talked about Taylor's performance. We've talked about Jared Haybon's performance. Who else, though? Did you see, a glimmer of something in any of the other competitors? Be it Alana Jordan, be it Dorian Parks?
Dorian, especially to me, just because I know he's the Marvel guy for a lot of people, and I thought it was really impressive that he ended up on DC and did so well. I mean, all things considered, it could have gone very wrong very quickly, and he powered through it, which is great. Alana, it was a bummer to see that she got her strength and she didn't do as well as she could have. Again, I think that really comes down to being under the lights. It's exactly what we've been talking about. Your first time up on there, you don't quite know. But it was Jamie. Jamie's the one that crushed me, because when they introduced him, they were like, if he gets a Back to the Future question, watch out, because they all know Jamie as the Back to the Future guy. And yet, for some reason, he couldn't pull the Back to the Future question about what Doc had named his children after, which author. Yeah. And he didn't. He made the biggest sin probably that any one person can do when they go to multiple choice and not hear all the answers. Yeah. And that was his undoing, because the moment he heard H.G. Wells, he jumped at it instead of listening to everything and thinking it over. And H.G. Wells wouldn't even make sense as a child's name. No. It wouldn't. H.G. Wells doesn't even make sense as a child's name. That's beside the point. It was a sin of the game to not let it ride out and hear all those answers. And that was his undoing at the end. And I think that's the thing I took away the most, is I thought that Jamie being in this space and doing the things he did, that he might actually perform better. And in the end of the day, he didn't. And I think that he's a player I'd like to see come back in Innergeekdom, but he's definitely got some work to do.
I'd like for you to meet my boys, Jules, and Vern. Yeah, but even Bibiani calls that out. He even said on the commentary, should have waited. Right. Before even the competitors got to get the go ahead.
Can we talk about Bibiani at the desk? Holy crap!
God.
How do we bury this lead here?
Yeah, Bibiani at the desk didn't know I wanted this so bad until I saw it. The guy was great. I mean, he's great at trivia. maybe not the game, but the trivia. And
Oh, come
at the desk, he was fantastic. I was cracking up. I just loved the chemistry between Harloff and Bibiani. It was so great, and I cannot wait to see the next time he's at the desk. It was awesome. It was awesome to see him up there and just have fun with it. And he can poke a little fun at himself as well. You know, he said in the beginning, you know, hopefully I have more success on this desk than the other desk. So I thought that was great. Yeah.
You know, I like that they're switching around too and trying new duos out, trying new pairs out. You know, we saw, Mark Riley and Ken Knapsack. We also saw Christian Harloff, Emma Fife. Patrick, what did you think of Bibiani at the desk?
Well, I think you actually made a great point on top of this. Is I'm loving that they're actually bringing new people onto the desk and trying these new pairs. It's fantastic. But Bibiani especially, he had great chemistry with Christian, and just they played off each other so well that you couldn't help but just love the match itself for the commentary. I mean, if for anything else, just the commentary alone, every time Bibiani would open his mouth, just really getting under Christian's skin. The thing about how would you defeat Superman, and Christian like writing it out, and then Bibiani asks him again. It just works so well. Yeah. I mean, he's so good.
There was a point I forget what they were talking about, but he was like, you have any ideas on this? He's like, I'll tell you in 5, 4, and they just cracked up. I thought it was a great moment there.
Let me ask you, Taylor, does the commentary when you're up there, I mean, does it throw you at all?
So for me, I wasn't really paying attention to a lot of the commentary. I was trying not to, actually, because from what I did hear, he was amazing at the desk, but that can be so distracting. That can be super crazy distracting because it can be hard to make sure that you're fully hearing the question and that there aren't parts that you're missing. And then when you have 4 other people at the table with you on top of it, there's a lot going on, and trying to hear the commentary into it would just be a disaster. So I really honestly don't remember most of it, which is probably better, because if I was listening to that, I wouldn't have been listening to the questions the way I should have.
No, I can understand. I've always wondered that, because in every other sport, you don't really hear the commentary as it's going on, but in the Schmoedown, you're on a set there, and I've always wondered how that could affect a player there. Now, Frank, let's talk about the third and final round here. We saw what went down. Why don't you walk everyone through this last round here?
Yeah, so we had Dorian. Well, first of all, we have to point out that Alana and Jamie, they were knocked out,
eliminated,
out after the second round.
Brother.
Yes. And so, which we would later find out that Jared would be awarded those 2 knockouts at the end of this whole match. And then we had Dorian and Taylor be the last 3 standing with Jared. And Dorian, he was up first, and he could not hit his 2 questions. Taylor, did you know his Harry Potter question?
I did. If you guys watch, I don't know if they show it in the match because I haven't seen it, but my face when they were asking that Harry Potter question, I was like trying to not like just lose my mind. Yeah. So I was like, why isn't this my question? No.
No steals. Sorry.
I know.
And there was a Harry Potter question. I believe it was in the Innergeekdom about Hagrid's dog. Did you have that one, Taylor?
Yeah.
What was the name of his dog? Yeah. Okay. And you answered Fang, and I was wondering, would Fluffy count?
I have gotten this question so many times from so many different people since this match dropped, and I would like to say that they would count Fluffy and Fang because of the way the question was worded, which is why before I answered it, you kind of see me pause and try and figure out maybe if there's a specific one that they're looking for, because in my head, I was like, well, Fluffy. And then I stopped and I was like, but do they mean like his actual dog that is in his house with him at all times? Because that's Fang. But if you're talking, so I don't really know if that could have been challenged if I would have said the other one.
Well, if Captain America can be an Ant-Man, I think that Fluffy can definitely be his dog.
Oh, Lord. Well, I was more thinking about the Einstein and Copernicus question that we had, I believe, was it last week or the week before, in the Josh McCouga match, the Back to the Future question. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking along the lines of, because really either one is technically correct. So anyway, I just want to get that out there. But you were talking about Dorian Parks. He couldn't nail any of the questions there, so he was kind of cut there. And then it was down to two. It was down to Jared, and it was down to Taylor Robinson.
Yeah, and then so you got Marvel, and then here comes Indiana Jones. How well versed do you think you are in Indiana Jones, just to begin with?
Just to begin with, not at all.
So when you heard Indiana Jones, what was your first thought?
As soon as I heard Indiana Jones, you can see it on my face.
Yeah, I saw it on your face.
You can see it on my face that I'm just like, this is not. Just any little bit of confidence I had left at that point, it just was gone. It was gone.
And you did ask for a repeat, right?
I did. Yeah.
just to use it.
Well,
right?
because so I recently rewatched all the Indiana Jones movies because I know it's not a strength of mine. And in that moment, like, it just came down to one of those things of that wasn't something I retained from my rewatch. Like, I just couldn't come up with it, and it was like I might as well use my repeat because I have it, because that might give me like you never know.
Something might pop in there.
Yeah, you never know. So.
Marcus Brody.
Yeah,
it's a good man. He's a good man.
Yeah. I'm still not sure I've forgiven you for that.
Neither is anyone ever in the whole world. So join the club, Pat.
That's fair.
That's right, Pat.
But I would like to say that I had at least half the studio come up to me after that and say no one knew the answer.
You know, Pat, when that question was answered, at first Marcus Brody wasn't coming to my head, but I remember the scene in the Last Crusade where he's Indy and his father are tied up in the chair, and he's saying Marcus Brody knows 17 languages. He's a blend in into, I was trying to remember what Harrison Ford said. So anyway, that's how I remember the question. But and so Jared Habon didn't have to even go. It was a wrap after Taylor couldn't think of the Indiana Jones question, and we saw who's going to go on and have an opportunity to become the number one contender. And what do you think, Frank? How do you think that he lines up with Mark Donica?
Yeah, it's gonna be very, very interesting, especially because Jared, he missed 3 questions in this entire match. He got all of his round 2. He got all of his steal opportunities. And so now he goes up against a guy, Donica, who, I think he's pretty good. But I think they're very evenly matched, I would say, at the end of this. Yeah, I think they're very evenly matched. But Jared, he might have a slight edge just because I think he knows the game really well. And Donica, I don't know how well he knows the game. Jared, like I said before, he studies the game. He knows the rules. He knows the format. So I think that gives him an edge. It's going to come down to what it always comes down to, is the second round, and whether or not you can take advantage of your lead going into that final round. And we'll see what happens. So I'm excited to see this unfold between both of them.
What do you think, Pat? If you had to pick a winner right now, early on here, who you going with? You going with Habon or Donica?
I'm definitely going with Habon. I think that him knowing the game so well is going to really play into how he does going into this number one contender match. Like, it really helps to know the game. Again, looking at this match with Jamie, it only takes one mistake to not listen to all, going into multiple choice and not listening to all the potential answers. Knowing the game plays a big part, and he's been watching for so long that I think that gives him an upper hand that Donica just doesn't have.
And Taylor Robinson, you competed against Habon. You've seen Donica. We talked about that match when you were on the show last. What do you think? Who you putting your money on?
This is a tough one because in Jared's debut, he obviously came out very, very strong, but Donica was the same way in his Fatal Five-Way. And it feels like they're both very evenly matched as far as trivia knowledge goes. But Patrick does make a good point that Jared knows the strategy a little better, it seems. He has seen the show and knows how it works, and that can actually help you a lot if you use it correctly. But I definitely will be pulling for Jared. I would very, very much like to see him win.
Well, there we go. And that was the Innergeekdom Fatal Five-Way, an interesting match. And we saw, I think, a new star may be born and maybe a future champion with Jared Habon and Taylor. Do you want to get back into Innergeekdom? Are we going to see you back this season?
I hope so. I would definitely like to come back if there is someone that they want to put me up against. But hopefully you'll be seeing me again soon.
Maybe a Dorian Parks, Taylor Robinson match. I'm floating ideas.
That's what I
here.
was thinking. I think that Jared or having Taylor and Dorian would be a really great match, especially because they played so similar.
Mhm.
It could make for a really great singles match.
No, definitely. Frank, anything else before we wrap this match up?
Yeah, I'm really just looking forward to seeing what Jared can do. I think he showed a lot here in this first match, and yeah, just like Patrick just said, between Dorian and Taylor, I like to see what they do in a match that's not their first time out. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Well, let's get into, I guess, the second match. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us in this match right here. Let's get into Thank you. Look at that. It's like y'all running a talk show over there. You usually have people coming up and sitting down.
Please close the door on your way out of my apartment.
Let's talk about the second match. This second match, Frank, I want to throw to you first because you saw the origins of this match. You talked about it here on the show before, prior to. What happened? How did this come about?
It was we're just sitting at a bar, and Christian comes over, and I'm talking to Taylor and Dale, and Christian goes, "I got an idea for a match here." He goes, "Ben Bateman," and well, hold on a second. Odell.
What?
Odell.
What? Odell Beckham's there?
What? I said Dale.
What?
Yeah.
Who?
Oh, you said,
Dale the Dude
wait a
Gibbs.
minute, Dale the Dude.
And
Brought
a
a
dog.
corgi.
And a dog.
And a corgi, Dale the Dude. And
Corky. See, he listens to me. He likes me.
Me.
well, what's
What?
going on, Dale? Well, welcome to the show.
Oh, hey, thanks, dude. What's going on?
What's up, dude?
Not
How's it
much.
going, man?
This is a fun podcast.
Yeah.
What's up? Not much. You too? Cool.
All right, cool. Hey, we'll talk about how this match. What was the origins here? How did this come about?
Oh, dude. So I'm just sitting in a bar with Frank, with Taylor, minding my own business, dude. And then I'm sitting there, I'm sipping some whiskey, dude, and I just hear a little click clack from behind me, and I'm like, that sounds like some overly priced dress shoes, dude. And I knew it was Ben Bateman, and I could hear him approaching from the rear, from my six, as they say in SEAL Team 6. And I did a backflip out of the booth, and I landed right in front of him, and I put my elbow to his face, but he blocked it. And we just locked eyes, dude, and we were like, we can't physically fight because we're too evenly matched. It would just prove nothing. And it was at that moment that you were kind of saying this, but Christian Harloff repelled from the ceiling like Batman, and he just kind of shouted.
I was gonna say I remember hearing a very different version while I was waiting to board my plane to New York. Something more along the lines of maybe a handshake and Harloff saying this is happening.
I've heard it both ways, but basically the gist of it is Harloff basically declared it shall be done, and he made us shake. He did make us shake hands for a photo op. There were press and paparazzi and stuff there.
What was it like shaking Ben Bateman's hand?
It kind of felt like when you shake hands with the devil to like make a deal with him, like in that song about
That's
the
kinda
dude
what
that
I
played
thought.
the fiddle. Yeah, bit of that. It burned. Had to wash my hands afterwards several times.
Just
Then
to be
Harloff.
safe.
Yeah, exactly. Then Harloff threw a smoke bomb and then disappeared. Also like Batman.
Did that happen, Frank?
That's
Maybe.
what Frank told me. That's what I remember. That's what I remember
Yeah.
you telling me, Frank.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't quite clear if it was like a smoke bomb or an actual grenade. So
Yeah, people cleared out real quick.
yeah, it was a scattering device. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard at first it was like tear gas, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird. It's weird how that happens. It's weird. I mean, you never know. But we saw the origins of the match, and this was, you said, Dale, in the pre-match promos, this was a dream come true. You got to live out a dream competing in the Schmoedown.
In the Schmoedown. Yeah.
In the Schmoedown, not necessarily against Ben Bateman. but
No.
just in the Schmoedown in general.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was it? Why would that be the dream? What drew you to the Schmoedown?
Well, I mean, I think great people are drawn to other greatness. Basically, this was gleaming. The Schmoedown's gleaming in the distance like a crystal from Superman's house. Just you could see it. It was like a mirage. in the distance, but it didn't get further away. It got closer as I walked to it. And basically, I found it on YouTube is the short answer. Yeah, I'm a fan of movies, dude. And so I came across Collider just watching Movie Talking Jedi Council, and then yeah, man, the Schmoedown really resonated with me. I started playing along, and I was like, dude, I think I can do this. And so I started doing Dude Talk, and the rest is history.
As they say. What did you think, now that we're already into it, what did you think of Ben Bateman's, I don't know if did you get to watch the match back? Did you hear his pre-match promo to you?
Yeah, I could hear it. I mean, dude, yeah, I could hear it from outside the room. But yeah, I did hear Rodeo Clown. What? I don't even know how he found out I was a rodeo clown. That's not even his business. He had been talking crap on me since the Spectacular, dude. Yeah. I mean, you know, we had a little run-in a hallway at the Spectacular. Yeah, they tried to jump me.
Yeah,
and
gang style. Yeah,
they did. Could have gone physical, but luckily Top 10 Matt Nost and John Roca were there to kind of save the day, save the dude. And from there, it really, it's just really kind of blossomed into just a hateful, just spiteful rivalry.
It's very nice.
Yeah,
we know he did say you that Ben Bateman said he is A class, and he will take you to class because you have no class. How did you feel about those comments?
I think he just didn't go to class because that's a weird sentence. That's a very odd grammatical sentence.
It is.
I think he missed class. But I think, dude, overall, I mean, he can say whatever he's going to say. Anyone can say what they're going to say before a match, but it does all really just come down to what happens in the ring, dude.
No, and I want to get to that in a moment. We had Mark Riley and Ken Knapsack on the desk here. Ken Knapsack making an interesting pitch there at the beginning. He's talking about when a fan comes over the rail at a pro wrestling match, you know, the guys have full force. They can go full force on the fan. They can just beat them up. They can kick them in the face. There are a lot of interesting videos on YouTube if you want to go see that of a fan jumping the guardrail at a WWE show, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, and the referee are kicking the hell out of this fan who jumps the rail. So that was what Ken Knapsack was saying, and I wanted to know though, dude. I mean, come on, dude. He was kind of referencing you. Did you kind of feel a way about that?
He wasn't kind of referencing me. He was like 100% referencing me. I was behind the curtain listening to him say that specifically about me. I honestly just exactly like what he was referring to. Is like, do you want to beat me up, Ken? Like, I don't know. I'll see you in the alley. Like, I don't know what that. I mean, no, I totally get it. It was. Listen, yeah, I do come from online. Just I am a fan. And I am in this league now, which is weird to say. But I think he was just referencing, it's like, dude, you best watch yourself. You talk a lot of crap. It's like, yeah, I do. I host a show. It's like the point of it. By the way, I host a show because I just invented a show. I want you also to know, like, I didn't like take over for anybody. I didn't deserve a show. I just owned a phone. So it's not like, but yeah, I think, but I think he just, he was referring to, you know, dude, you come in here talking crap, but it's like, I'm the pit boss, you know, and so if I want to smack you around a bit, I'm gonna. Luckily, he did not. But no, I think he just meant, no, he didn't. No, I just think he meant, you know, I'm coming in here and dude, like you're going up against someone like Ben Bateman. I can talk all kind of crap on Ben Bateman, but dude knows his movie trivia, and so I knew that going in, and I think he was basically just enticing Ben Bateman to try to wipe the floor with me as much as possible. Well,
let's talk about the entrances here, Frank, because if I wasn't already rooting for Dale the Dude in this match, he pretty much solidified it here with his entrance. Not only was he accompanied to the set by John Roca, the outlaw John Roca, but he came out to some Back to the Future music, you know, that Alan Silvestri right there, and that tugged on my heartstrings right there, dude, and I really appreciated it. Why Back to the Future?
It is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of the first movies, besides I think like Jaws and a few other classics, that my dad showed me. My dad's the reason I love movies, and that was one of the trilogies that he showed me very early on. Also, no one had taken that as their walkout music. Are you kidding me? We're on a movie trivia show, and no one has walked out to the Back to the Future theme. And I got the nickname The Dude. Are you kidding me? Like, I stole two giant, iconic, like, and no one had done that. You kidding me, dudes? Like, what? So, yeah. I just couldn't believe. We had to check. I had to ask Harloff like 3 times, like, are you sure? No one has walked out. And he's like, no. Well, I'm doing it. But I did. We thought it up like a while back when we were planning with the scheming for the dude to be on the Schmoedown. We were like, what's the walkout music going to be? Because we dreamed big back then. And it was basically only ever that. I never had another
idea.
No. I was like, it's going to be Back to the Future. I don't think anyone's ever done that. And they hadn't for, I don't know why.
Not even Power of Love? You didn't want to go Power of Love? You said I'm going to go with the main theme there?
Power of Love's a good song, but like at that point, that's just Huey Lewis and the News. Like I wanted the theme to Back to the Future. It's a very important movie to me. It's one of the best movies ever made. And yeah, I wanted the theme. Dude.
Absolutely.
I think that's more recognizable than Power of Love. That's debatable, but like it's just I wanted the theme to the movie, and I do, and I will say I wanted it. Dangerous Dan. When you hear that, you know that's Dangerous Dan coming out from behind that curtain, dude. You hear top 10, the champ is here. You know they're about to walk out from that curtain. I wanted a song that would solidify, even before I walk out, that the dude is about to walk out into that ring.
I like it. Well, let's talk about let's talk about it, Frank. Let's talk about round numero uno here. Ben Bateman.
Is that Spanish for one?
That is Spanish for one. I'm glad that.
Okay, I'm learning now. Yeah,
I like it.
Hey, you're going to school.
He's learning.
More than Bateman did.
But let's talk about round number one. Ben Bateman scores 75% of his questions correctly. Dale the Dude, 62.5%. Only a 1 point difference between the two. A 6 point.
Is that good?
5 point.
Is that good?
It's not bad.
I mean, it's
not bad.
Almost passing if we're talking about school.
Yeah, we're not though. We're not.
I graduated with that exact percentage.
We're not. But as far as debuts go, Frank, I know you're sitting there right next to you. And I'm putting you on the spot. But where does Dale rank as far as newcomers go?
Yeah, where do I rank?
Right at the top.
Speaking.
No. Oh, okay. Look. It's a league average performance, and that's how it is. And so, which means you're right at the average.
Cool.
And when you look at Ben Bateman's performance at the end of it, it's one of the top debuts on a 1-versus-1 match. We know he debuted technically in that 5-way qualifier for the tournament last year. I don't really count that. It's a 1v1 match here, and it's the tie for the seventh best debut match. So it was going to take a lot for anyone, and I said this in the stat segment at the end of the match. It's going to take a lot for anyone to overcome that kind of performance, especially in the debut performance. So at the end, Dale here was at 64% correct, which is the league average. So you can go up against just about anyone and have a shot, and that's what that really means at the end of the day.
Patrick, we haven't thrown to you yet. What did you think about the entrances, round number one, all that stuff?
Well, number one, I have to give Dale credit for maybe one of the best entrances ever, because he walked off the set then just kept going and then walked out again. No one's ever double walked out before.
Double walkout.
And you brought Roca with you. Like you brought John Roca with you.
He's just like kind of always hanging out backstage. Like he was just back there. I'm like, come on, dude. And
most people don't realize he's still sleeping backstage. He really is. But regardless, that is what's going on. But not only that, you did do very well in round one. You landed on the average. There was some questions even I wouldn't have pulled. And yeah, I mean,
Patrick's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. He's pretty good.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. We do play together, which is fun. But I mean, who remembers Jason X, really? And really, Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
that was like
I just didn't even write Jason. I wrote Freddy.
Yeah,
like
you wrote
wrong
Freddy.
movie, dude. What are you doing?
Okay, well, here I'm trying to,
Yeah.
make
Oh
you
yeah,
feel
go.
better.
Thank you.
But no, really the thing is that we've seen Ben Bateman in teams, and Ben, for lack of a better term, has carried their team very far. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think that I don't know. I just knew Ben coming in would be a strong opponent no matter what for you. Because we've seen him do so well in teams, you look at what he's scored and how far they've come, a lot of it is Ben. And I like Andrew. Andrew, please don't tackle me for saying this. But Ben is the stronger performer of the two. And that just is. So going into this match, I knew it was going to be very interesting to see him on his own, really mano a mano with someone.
And before we move on after this round one, I wanted to ask Dale, because we had kind of talked about this before. It was the taglines category, and you guys both went Kill Bill on that one.
Yeah.
It's very deceptive. We said that word vengeance and that tagline is what triggered the Kill Bill, but it was Django Unchained. Just a little bit on your thought process with the taglines and how you. I mean, I kind of just said it, the vengeance tagline with Kill Bill, but I mean, what else was going? I mean, did you talk about it? Did you joke about it with Ben? That's what you guys were thinking.
Oh, I mean, we don't joke.
Sorry.
We,
They don't
we
talk.
we just kind of stare at each other, from across crowded rooms, just with hate in our eyes. But no, it was when the question was asked. First of all, you got it's like what Tarantino movie? Okay, that's like 7. So that's narrowing it down. But yeah, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Vengeance. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
We both keyed in on the word vengeance because I think your mind goes to, well, Life, Liberty, they're just playing on a phrase, which you are, but I think the key word we both attached to was vengeance because that was the one that wasn't, that was like out of nowhere. One of these things is not like the other, and it was vengeance. And it was like, oh, well, what movie's about vengeance? And then you got to be like, oh, damn, I think there's a couple Tarantino movies about vengeance. But I think we both landed on Kill Bill because that entire movie is about her getting vengeance.
Yeah.
But the trickery of the question was it was more about the life, liberty part of the question. And as soon as you hear Django Unchained, you're like, oh, yeah, of course, that's what it was.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting, too, because I kind of talked about it with you guys, is that the other thing with Tarantino movies is he's also written films that he may not have directed, but another one that came to mind, it could have been True Romance. And that kind of threw me off because it does have that theme of that whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, it could have been a trick question. So I see why you guys went to Kill Bill, and I could have seen anyone going almost any really one of those.
Yeah. Luckily, they don't ask too many trick questions in the Schmoedown. Right. They do try to be as straightforward as they can with the questions, which thank God. So we knew it was going to be a straightforward one, and it was just a matter of narrowing it down from like the 7 Tarantino movies that we know exist.
I guess even Death Proof to a point. Really
kind of, but there's no way that's the tagline for Death Proof.
No, I know. I'm just saying now.
It's like, I got a car and I'm creepy. Like, maybe that's the tagline for Death Proof. Like, I don't know. Yeah, nothing about, maybe. The only thing about vengeance in that last movie is the very last scene of Death Proof, where they just are kicking the crap out of Kurt Russell. That's the vengeance, I think, in that one.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. Let's move into round.
Silence on the rundown.
Number 2. So we saw that Ben Bateman obviously got to pick if he wanted to go first or defer. He defers to Dale the Dude. I tried to do my little impression for you there. And you go, you spin first, and your first spin is Scorsese, and you spin away and and you ended up landing on 2000s. Let's talk about why did you spin away from Scorsese?
Scorsese has more movies than all of the movies made in the 2000s. No. It's just, I knew the Scorsese. I'm not bad at Scorsese. I have seen, I think, pretty much all of the Scorsese films I have. But they're all like 3.5 hours. And so the rewatch number on each of his movies is a little low. So unless it was like, some softball Scorsese questions, I knew I'd be up, a creek. And so I didn't want to, It was, and not to mention, you got 10 seconds to like decide. And so I took like 3 of my strengths were on the board, aside from Spinner's Choice. That makes 4. So I went with the numbers on that one. I was like, nah, I don't want to risk Scorsese. And there was another match that was filmed that was filmed later that day, and I saw the Scorsese questions I would have been asked. And to be honest with you, I probably would have done about similar as I did to 2000s, because they were some deep cut Scorsese ones, and there were some softballs, just like I got in 2000s. So yeah, I don't know. I just needed to spin away from Scorsese. It just didn't feel right. Didn't feel right in the dude's gut. And
then
so
when you land on 2000s though, what was your feeling then?
I was mostly just pissed I didn't get Spinner's Choice because it was right next to it. It was almost like Spinners. I don't think so. 2000s, which, yeah, not to mention I had a slice just fly off of the wheel.
That's
Even
right.
2000s, like, we got to get the hell out of here, dude. Like, there's no way you're going to answer any of these right. Like, get out. Like, yeah. 2000 didn't even want to be on the wheel. And so when I spun 2000s, it was just this sense of like, I don't really know. I hope, like, it just starts to become like, what was made in the 2000s? I don't know. I knew it would be a toss up no matter what. I just knew it would be that. And so it was just like, all right, bring it on, I guess. Some hope.
Now, Frank, how do people normally do in the category of 2000s? I mean, that's kind of it's 10 years of movies there that anything can happen. How do people normally do?
Well, since I don't have that number in front of me, I'm going to make one up.
All right, stat boy.
Yeah.
60% of the time, they do good all the time.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think 2000s in general, people will do generally above average. And I think if you utilize multiple choice, obviously your odds of getting for all 4 go up. But I think it depends on the person. There has been this talk in the community about, people joke about John Roca being old, but there's something to be said for being older and having that ability to have watched a lot of movies in your time. And I don't know exactly how old or young Dale is, but I would like to think maybe some of that had some play in here. If you were 80 years old, maybe you can remember, a lot of the movies made in 2000s. But if you're like RB3, let's say, who's I think 19, 20, you're maybe not have seen all the 2000s because you're still watching cartoons. I don't know. So I think it depends on the player.
What do you think, Patrick? What do you think about the category 2000s? Do you think it was a good move for Dude to spin away from Scorsese?
Honestly, I mean, it kind of comes down to where you think your strength is going to lie, because no matter what, they're both going to be very broad, and they're going to go very deep no matter how you go. I mean, the 2000s, that's a lot of time that has a lot of different kinds of movies. But then Scorsese's got a filmography deeper than most filmmakers will get to have. And I think that Dale did make the right choice. It just made sense. I think 2000s is probably right around the time you were really getting into film, roughly. And there's a lot of movies that I know, at least for me, I latched on to at that time as I started getting into film. What if you land some of those questions? It's better to take the chance, at least. I mean, I know you couldn't spin again off of it, but it's not the worst place to go, especially if it is something that you feel like you might have decent footing in.
Because I think also real quick is that if you go through Scorsese and you're like, well, I got the first one wrong, second one wrong, man, I'm not feeling good about Scorsese at all. But if you go through 2000, let's say you get a Spielberg question, you're like, great, but then you get another director maybe or another movie or genre you're not comfortable in. You're like, well, my other two, hopefully that's a strength that I have. So I guess there's a little more opportunity within 2000s as opposed to being strictly pigeonholed into Scorsese.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because Scorsese's films really are very stylistically very similar. You're not going to branch out. He doesn't do very many Hugos.
Right.
So, I mean,
yeah,
really, if you aren't that well versed, you might end up up Shit's Creek.
Yeah.
You just might. So that was a great point.
Absolutely. And then we saw the dude getting, what was it, four points in total off that?
4
Was
points,
that what
yeah.
it was? 4 points. Hey, it's not bad. It's not bad, right? That's a total of 11 after round number 2. I think Ben Bateman got a steal on you there in the final question, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
You look upset there, dude.
Yeah. Are you referring? Was that the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon question?
That was, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've watched Schmoedown so much, and it's such an amateur move when you don't know in round 2 to not go to multiple choice. I don't know why I didn't do that. I don't know.
But you
It just
didn't
cross
call
my
out,
mind.
like, even if you got multiple choice, you wouldn't have. Would you have selected? What was it?
It
Chow
doesn't
Yun Fat?
matter.
Was that the name?
Like it doesn't. No, that's different from. That's where we talk about the difference between movie trivia and the game. The game is go to multiple choice, you idiot. Like, because if he does steal, it's only gonna be 1 point as opposed to 2. You've seen this before.
Yeah.
Probably called people out in your own freaking show for doing the same thing, and you're doing it. Yeah. And so, yeah, it just became about, I was like, that was just a party foul of the game. Like, dude, like, go to multiple choice. And I told them earlier, first of all, I said Jet Li. I'm not even sure if he's in that movie.
He's not.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I don't think he is.
That's another example of writing Freddy when it's like a Jason question. Like, but like if I would have gone to multiple choice, I know how I guess. The dude's last name was Fats. I would have guessed Fats. Like I would have guessed it. I would have guessed it. Like I know it. And yeah, and then you got him spinning Spinner's Choice, and it's like, oh well, history's repeating itself. Like okay, like fine. And
but were you kind of thrown when he spun Spinner's Choice, and earlier in the the match when they were going for the tail of the tape, he said that Julia Roberts, Sandra Bullock, and Gwyneth Paltrow films were now his strong suits.
Bull crap.
But when he
bull crap.
But when he spun Spinner's Choice and he went with Oscars, did that kind of take you by surprise a little bit there?
No, not at all. And this is actually true. This isn't me making jokes or anything. When me and Bateman was announced and I was talking about it with friends and stuff, everybody kept saying that other than like action adventure, that's like his biggest category is action adventure. And I don't know why, but it was just this. I kept saying, I was like, dude, I think this dude has Oscars in the bag. I kept saying that because I've seen this dude's work. He hangs out on the red carpets and does the like, oh, this movie, you're a famous guy. Like, he's a red carpet like Ryan Seacrest type dude. Like, and I knew that dude had Oscars in the bag, and I kept saying that. And then he spins Spinner's Choice and takes Oscars. And a part of me just want to be like, I knew it. Like I knew I was right. Validation. And
give me a point.
Yeah. I should get a point for knowing he was going to do that. Yeah. But no, it did not surprise me in the least. I was like, yeah, why not? Of course, I was right about that. I wish I was wrong, but yeah, no. It just sucked. Spinner's Choice. Team Action, dude. They love their Spinner's Choice and Opponent's Choice, dude. So
they get it. They get it all the time.
They do.
PJ, what did you think when you saw Ben Bateman hit that Spinner's Choice, pick Oscars?
Oh, man, it hurt because I knew what was coming. I've heard whispers about how Ben trains for Oscars and how much he knows about Oscars.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so the moment he hit it, Spinner's Choice, number one, how he got Spinner's Choice again, just like every time they did in the team matches, is crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe that was happening. And when he
must have like a magnet in his pocket or something. He's just kind of
feels like it, right?
I went straight to magnet. I was like, check him.
Check him. God. Somebody pat him down.
That man, the way that he can pull Oscars information here, we're talking about categories that can go deep. Oscars is 80 plus years of
90. They just had the 90th one.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine having that kind of information at your fingertips at any time, and he didn't trip up. Like he was just on point. Like just Luke Skywalker at the end of A New Hope going. That's what it was. Like he was just zoned in, going down the trench. Yeah, and that's what it was. It was crazy.
That is. He did go to multiple choice, which. For me, in the moment, I was kind of like, Thank God. Like at least
It was,
he's going
on the first
multiple choice.
question too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little from right out the gate. The first question he went to multiple choice. I was like, okay, I think I might still got this. Yeah, but then like 3 questions later, I was like, shit. But yeah, no, he was very laser focused, and yeah, if you know this dude's training regiment specifically for Oscars, he trains specifically for Oscars. Yeah, so it was not a surprise that he did as well as he did.
And what do you think, Frank? That Oscar category? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was not surprised he went to Oscars. I really wasn't, because I've compiling these stats and whatnot can give you some insight into what a player likes to do and what their strengths are. And I've said this before, like stats in no way can forecast how a match will go, how a player will play, but you can see some of their tendencies, where they like to do, and you have to look back. I had to look back at what Team Action would do and what categories they looked comfortable in and what categories they were trying to go for. And yeah, Team Action Adventure, but they've exhausted that category. We've seen it bite them. So for him to go to Oscars, and just talking to him over this past year now, I guess half a year at least, and how bad he wants a belt and what he's willing to do and train, and so for him to go to Oscars, yeah, was not really surprised, and was not surprised at how well he did in Oscars. So it went exactly the way I thought it would go once he landed on the Oscars.
Now we get into round number 3 here. The dude's got to come back. He's got to come back here. You almost got to go perfect here. In round number 3, you chose numbers 9, 11, and 13. Any strategy there where you just the first numbers that you could think of?
No, this is actually true. I've actually never told anybody this. I'm serious. I have, since I was a little kid, always seen the number. This is weird because it's a kind of a tragedy in our country, but I've always seen the numbers 9 and 11 in sequential order on clocks, on baseball game, or not baseball. Usually it doesn't go that high. I was at a basketball game once and I saw it's almost always on a clock when I look at it. There was a point in our match when it was 11-9. That I've just 9 and 11 and 10 and 15. I saw that on clocks forever. Then we moved into a house and the house number was 10-15. Like It was weird. It was weird. Yeah, 9 and 11 and 10 and 15. I've always seen in sequential order. But I didn't want to pick 9, 11, and then 10 without the 15 because I was stranded on the third number, which it didn't matter because we didn't get there. But so yeah, 9 and 11 were just based off of, I don't know, like kind of like lucky numbers, I guess. I see them everywhere, and so I chose them. I don't know why I picked 13. It's the stupidest, but it's like clearly an unlucky number globally. But like, I'm like, to hell with it, dude. But whatever. We didn't get there, so not that unlucky. Or maybe it did. Whatever.
Well, let's talk about Pixar there. Pixar was your number 9 point question. It was who voiced what was the character's name in Inside Out?
It was the bubbly voice of, was it Joy?
Was it? I can't
one of them.
Wow, I can't. Yeah,
I think it was Joy. It happened. This match was today, and I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was Joy.
Amy Poehler was the answer.
Yeah, then Joy.
And you said Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, I just heard the adjective bubbly. I was like, I don't know. She's happy. I've never seen Inside Out.
Yeah.
I generally do pretty good on Pixar, actually. I do pretty good in the animated categories, and more specifically in Pixar. I'm okay with those movies. But I've never seen Inside Out. I just didn't. I missed it. If it was Anger, I knew that's Lewis Black. Like, I got that one. But yeah, no, I didn't know it was Amy Poehler. I should have watched at least the press tour for that movie or something to know who the voices are.
And then we had the number 11, which was Tom Cruise, and it was what 2 films did Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz play in, and you had Night and Day, but Vanilla Sky just didn't come to you.
Which is kind of a reverse because I think most people went straight to Vanilla Sky, and would not have been able to pull Night and Day. My strength is romantic comedies in the Schmoedown. romantic comedies, family films, and comedies. So I knew Night and Day right off the bat. It's like I own that movie. It's like a really good movie, and I love Tom Cruise. But I've never seen Vanilla Sky. Which, yeah, I know. Bring it on, internet.
It's not the most well-known Cameron Crowe movie. You're fine.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I knew Night and Day right off the bat, but I'd never seen Vanilla Sky. So that's the end of this answer. I never saw it, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's pretty much the end of it, and that was the end of the match. Well, let me go to you, Frank, real quick. We saw Pixar, we saw Tom Cruise. The dude didn't come through in round number 3, but it's all right. As far as debuts go, you said that as far as singles debuts go, you said Ben Bateman was the 7th.
Time for the 7th best debut on a 1v1 match. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then Dale, is right in the middle of the pack here. So
Tied for 35th best debut.
That's right. Hey,
Out of 35.
Yeah, out of 30. So, but here's the real thing I was looking at was Ben, because he's been talking up a storm about how he wants the belts and he's going after it, and he talks a lot of smack, and that's part of his persona on the show. And so I was really curious to see how well or not well he would do. And he missed 2 questions the whole entire match in the first round, the last 2, and that was pretty impressive to me, and it showed me at least that he is for real about pursuing a belt this year, whether it's singles, teams, and he has mentioned the fact that he's going to try and go after Geekdom. Well, will that happen this year? I don't know, but he's looking for one of them. I know that.
I will say this: Ben Bateman did approach me. We were both at Rachel Cushion's birthday party, and he came up to me and he was like, "Dude, I'm planning." First match out the gate versus Inman, I'm taking that Innergeekdom belt. Like he said, first match, I'm taking that Innergeekdom belt. So he's serious about it.
Yeah, he did mention to me too that he thinks he could take Inman. I said, "Are you delusional?" I said, "What?"
He had it down to a science.
But hey, I love the confidence, and I would love to see him try.
It's great to see someone that really is that hungry for the belts, no matter where it is. I think he'd get crushed by Inman personally, but I mean, or even Rachel.
A lot of people will get crushed by Inman. It's not just him.
Exactly, and that's not a knock at Ben. He could know Innergeekdom very well, but Jason's a force to be reckoned with. I think that he really should just stay on the path right now that he is. I think that he had a strong enough debut in the singles that I think that he can work through quite a few people to get to the top.
Yeah.
I mean, that he's got the power. He's got the potential. I'd like to see him continue to try. I'd also like to see Dale come back. I wouldn't mind to see you going up against someone like Josh McCouga.
That'd be great.
I think you guys would have a great match. You or Scarpino. I think that there's some really great matches to be had in your future.
Yeah.
Thank you, dude. I do appreciate that, and I do really do. Wow, this is not a sentence I'm good at. I want to come back. Let me come back, please, Harloff. Harloff, please let me come back.
Well, I actually want to throw to a very special video presentation here, if you will. Frank, you got the chance to meet with the winner of this match, Ben Bateman. Let's take a look at what happened right now.
Here we are with Ben Bateman. He just defeated Dale the Dude. It's another newbie you've defeated in this league. Is that your thing? You think on the newcomers?
My thing is being a champion, Janisch. You want to reduce this to something ridiculous? Don't talk to me like that.
Fair enough. So how do you feel you did in the match? I mean, you only missed a few questions. Do you think you could hit some that you missed, or do you think this is what you expected?
I was running 13 games of mental chess in my head at the same time, so I hesitated a little bit on one of my questions in the Oscars category. I shouldn't have. I saw a checkmate. I was interested in that, okay? I run 22 companies. What do you want from me, all right?
It's quite impressive, and then on top of that, you compete in the Schmoedown. Again, last time I talked to you, I asked, what was up with the injured guy? How's he doing these days? Is he still beating himself up? Is he still drinking his life away? How's he doing?
Look, guy's not out of prison yet, all right? You learn a lot about yourself when you're behind bars. So we're all going to learn a lot about Andrew Guy when he gets out.
And now going forward, who is it that you want to take on now? Who is it that next on your list to climb your way to the top to a belt this year?
Here's the champion, all right? Here's where I am.
Yeah.
Here's everybody in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. All right? You're going to see the boot of my heel. That's what it is. That's all that matters. I don't know. I heard Andrejko's looking for a match. Mance.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's talk. Let's dance, Mance. Anybody, all right?
Let's dance with Mance. I think that's a good slogan. If that match were to happen, or Andrejko, I mean the android. You are the boss.
You're goddamn right I am, Janisch. You're goddamn
I was
right
just
I am.
reading your name tag on the desk. I wasn't really deferring. But I hope to see you soon in your next match, whoever it is against. I think you'll do good. If not better than good, great. Yeah? Okay. The look he's giving me, I think he's going to do great. Awesome. He's going to win. Ben, any final words before we get out of here?
Champions are born in the ring. That's where I belong. I already made it very clear to you, I am a thoroughbred. But you haven't seen my top speed yet, Janisch. Not even close. Not even close.
Well, with that said, whoever plays Ben Bateman next, bring your A game because he's a thoroughbred and he's going to destroy you, apparently. So
You best be ready.
All right. Thank you.
This is bullcrap, dude.
And there you go, Frank. I guess Dale
That went well, didn't it? That went really well, actually.
Yeah.
I can tell.
It's weird because I didn't really know who was holding the camera, and it was very surprised that it was Dale, to tell you the truth.
You didn't know who was holding your own camera?
I didn't because I was just concentrating on what Ben was saying and looking at the camera lens, not the person behind the camera. And so when he revealed himself, I felt a little bad, but you know, it is what it is. So
it's strange that you didn't know who was holding your camera. That's
I'm really in that same place.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'd just hand my camera to anyone.
Well, no, see, I thought I was handing it to Alex, and then I think what happened was he handed it off to Dale because he had to
Yeah.
Well,
Whatever.
Did you see
whatever.
how he walked
Frank.
out of
Yeah.
here? He took all
Yeah,
my
he
alcohol.
stormed out. Well, let's talk about it. You know, the live show. I mean, the live show went down a few days ago. We might as well discuss it. We're not going to give away any spoilers here. I know y'all attended. I did not attend, but just overall experience, the way it was laid out. What'd you like? Is there anything that you thought could have been better? I mean, overall, just your thoughts. Let's start with PJ.
Man, I have to say, number one, more than 200 fans showed up to this thing.
Awesome.
And the air was electric. Before the match, I think if you check Frank's Instagram, there's video of us walking outside, and the crowd was excited.
it was on the Rundown's Instagram. Not mine, but the Rundown's.
Schmoedown Rundown.
Yes.
And we had a really good time kind of getting them a perspective. Were they there for the rejects? Were they there for the Wildberries? Who was there? Roca? Who was there for JTE?
Yeah.
And the air was just so electric. I can't even begin to describe it because, as the three of us can all attest to, we've sat inside, we've watched matches, and we're all fans, obviously, of what they're doing at Collider with the Schmoedown. But to be in a room full of that many people that love the Schmoedown as much as we do and love the competitors as much as we do, it was really special. And I legitimately mean that. It was a really special experience.
It was really awesome to be in that kind of environment, that kind of stage, really. I mean, really, the stage that the Schmoedown was now on, literally and figuratively, was really awesome to see. And then, you know, PJ's right, to talk with other fans of the Schmoedown. I know a lot of people met up like at Star Wars Celebration, and that was for a Star Wars match. And I think, I do think a lot of people there were fans of the Trivia Schmoedown, Movie Trivia Schmoedown. A lot of people were also just Star Wars fans and wanted to see a Star Wars trivia match. So to be at a place that is solely for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown was really awesome, and I felt very fortunate to be there. And again, if you check out the show's Instagram. Again, if you check out the show's Instagram, Schmoedown Rundown, there's the live video may be expiring soon. I try to save most of them. I'll try and re-upload them again if they do expire. But we got pictures up there on the page as well. You can go ahead and check that out and see what it's like. And also, a lot of people are posting on Twitter and the Facebook page. So a lot of cool stuff there. We don't want to. Let me tell you this just about the matches. Great matches, awesome. The way they went,
some of the best, and you know. To see that live play out was really great because, again, in that environment, to have that many fans that into what's happening is just something else. I mean, if you've ever been to a sporting event, it really felt like a sporting event.
Yeah.
And the matches will be online at the end of the month, by the way. For those wondering, Christian has said that they will be the last Tuesday and Friday of March. So you guys will get to see the matches. Don't worry about that. It is coming.
Also, they do previews, promos. They do them live. So
wow.
It's very well done. Very interesting the way they did them. So look forward to that. And I will say the camera angles that they were showing while on stage are very reminiscent when you watch like WWE and all that stuff. So it has that very wrestling feel, which I loved. And it looked really cool. And the post-match interviews are great as well. So, and not to mention the matches are also great. So I can't wait for everyone who wasn't able to be there live. I can't wait for people to finally see these matches at the end of the month. You're going to really love them. It's just awesome. Awesome stuff, man.
Well,
let's
wait.
You know what? We should hear really from Taylor, and I think we got Dale to come back in here and just we'll hear about their experiences. Here we go. There it is. Here we go.
Oh.
Hey, here.
Hello.
Hello again. Dale's drinking his sorrows away.
You're not getting it back. You asked me back, and I happened to be holding it.
Thanks.
Hello.
Okay, what did y'all think? What did y'all think about the live show there? Just overall experiences without giving too much away.
Overall, it was an incredible community experience. The amount of people that showed up and the kind of people that showed up, these are the people you can tell that love the Schmoedown so much, and we're so excited to be around other people who love the show as much as they do. And just having that kind of energy in a room during a Schmoedown match was something that you can't even describe. It just felt like such a fun, special experience to be watching that with so many people who love it as much as you do, and to know that it's really all possible because of them. And they showed up and made it possible.
And there was a guy who flew in from Denmark. I'm not even joking. He flew in from Denmark for this.
Country.
Yeah. Just the country. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was really cool. He's but shout out to Sunny from Denmark. But yeah, it was really special because not only was it, all of the fans that could make it out and really put a lot on the line to make it out. There were a ton of other competitors there too that were just there to support and to meet everyone and have a good time. And it really just felt like the culmination of everything that everyone has wanted, of being able to hang out, watch the show together, make new friends, see old friends. And they were two of the best matches I've probably ever seen, which was incredible.
They were very good matches. And I mean, on the subject of the audience, it's a match like this that it matches an event. This that is live. This entire thing hinges on the audience being not just participative, but really following the rules, which is not shouting out answers and not not being overtly rude and stuff like that. And we had one of the best audiences you could ask for at this thing. I mean, they were just in it to win it, and they were and I think you nailed it. I mean, these were the diehard fans that would fly in from another country like Denmark, and I mean the people that are really live and breathe the Schmoedown and care about it that much to actually come down. And it was really, really awesome to see. We had a great audience.
Yeah, there was people from Tennessee, all over the place. I mean, there was people, and this is a true story, by the way. There was a gentleman who wanted to meet Chris Galicki so badly, and Frank and I were talking, hanging out on the side, and he came up to me and he goes, "Mr. Skalicki, the game master, can I come? Can I say hi to you?" And I was like, he thought I was Skalicki. Yeah, he thought I was Chris, which I was like, I really hate to break it to you. Number one, I'm not Chris, but here's Frankie numbers at least. Yeah. And that was, but they were so excited to be there, and just they wanted to meet everyone who was involved with this game. It was really, really cool.
You could have showed a dude that looked like Skalicki.
Yeah.
We found a dude in the crowd that was like a
side profile looked
side profile looked exactly.
There's one story I got to tell you, Brad, and you will appreciate this. There was a little meetup right before that Bryan Chandler put together for the fans. And I'm sitting down, and someone comes up to me. He goes, "You're gonna like this, Brad." He goes, "You're Jenga Janisch, right?" I was like, "Son of a bitch." Yeah. So
Jenga Janisch.
Yeah, it's catching on, Brad. So bravo to you, I guess. Yeah.
And I did. John Roca did ask me to work security for him at this event, personal security, and I did have to, basically perform my duties. Just FYI, so, no spoilers.
Oh,
But I was bodyguard. Okay,
Yeah.
It had to be done.
And I just want to give a shout out to Bryan for doing the meet and greet and everything beforehand, because that's not an easy feat. And she's doing an amazing job with the Patreon and really trying to rally the fans together. And it was really cool to meet some people before the match that just lived and breathed the Schmoedown like we do. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds awesome, guys. I can't. I'm sad that I missed out on it, but next time around, it might be here. It might be here in good old Houston, Texas. You never know. You never know what could happen with the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Frank, though, before we get out of here, why don't you tell the people what we can expect in the next week as far as matches for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown?
Yeah, next week's a big week. Starting off on Tuesday, we have the Shire Wolves and the Lions Den going at it. I would fully expect to see some fireworks there. And then we have two new competitors in singles on Friday. Ethan Irwin and her first name escapes me, Yolanda Machado. They are going at it head-to-head, their debuts. So look out for that match. And if you remember in Christian's season preview, he really touted Ethan Irwin. So we're going to find out if he lives up to Harlow's hype. So there we go.
It'd be really great to have a really cool contestant like that this early on in the season that could live up to the godlike status that Harloff has really built up for him.
I mean, there's only one Merle and only one Rachel. Can we find the others? I don't know. We haven't yet, so who knows?
We never know, but we will find out next week. Taylor, Dale, thank y'all for joining us here on the show this week. We really appreciate it, as well as PJ, Patrick Campbell. And
My man, you got
it. And shout out to Chris Clark on the boards. Y'all missed a lot of stuff, but maybe we'll release that footage on a later date. But we appreciate it. Follow us at Schmoedown RD on Twitter and Schmoedown Rundown on Instagram, and we will see y'all next week.